Hi guys, Levi Clevenger-Realtor here in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. I wanted to talk a little bit today about buyer agency and the buyer agency contract. If you're planning on buying a house, this is something that you're going to run across probably sooner rather than later. So I wanted to kind of familiarize with you ahead of time. That way you had an idea of what you'd be getting into and what you'd be signing before it's suddenly whipped out and placed in front of you there on the table. So buyer agency is the legal relationship that exists between a buyer and their agent. And buyer agency, that word agency kind of threw me for a loop whenever I first got into the business. I thought of agency as like a real estate agency or a company, organization, that type of thing. But that word just basically means buyer's advocate. So whenever we enter into the buyer agency contract, basically you're allowing me to be your advocate in a real estate transaction. They just like to throw that agency word in there to confuse people. The important thing to keep in mind with the buyer agency contract is before we sign this, I'm not working for you. I am working for the seller. So we can go look at a dozen different houses if you want without signing this document. That's fine. But keep in mind when it comes to fiduciary duties and whose interests I'm looking out for and whose advocate I'm being, if this isn't signed, then I am the seller's advocate. And because they're paying me to be a buyer's agent, to bring a buyer to the transaction, we have to fill out this contract for me to represent your interest. If we don't fill this out, then I have to put the seller's interest first and foremost. The great thing is I am being paid by the seller whenever I'm the buyer's agent. That's spelled out here in the contract. So it's a really good deal. I mean, you get somebody to work for you, show you houses, prepare contracts for you, walk you through the whole real estate transaction, and then at the end, all you would pay me is a very, very small broker's fee, or rather that would be paid to our company. Let me run down through here and touch some of the bullet points for you. You can also find the buyer agency contract on my website, Levi-Clevenger-Realtor.com. Go into the resources tab and click on common forms. The thing right here at the top is our company information. Then down here, there's the starting and ending dates of the buyer agency agreement. And then it talks about our compensation in this paragraph below there. It's all spelled out, talks about where we're getting compensated from, how much, and things like that. That's really the bulk of the things that are going to change. The rest of this is just disclosure. There's like a page and a half of disclosures here. And then on the last page, some disclosure at the top. And then it just makes sure that you're aware of all the information that you should be right before you sign your name, things like reading the consumer notice and reading through the entire contract and things like that. So if you have any questions about buyer agency, just hit me up. My email is lclevenger@homesale.com. Like I said earlier, you can find this and other great information on my website, Levi-Clevenger-Realtor. And you can also join the conversation on Facebook, Levi Clevenger-Realtor.